A French military deal signed on the divided island of Cyprus has triggered one of the strongest warnings from Türkiye in years. Ankara says it is ready to give the harshest response if the security of Turkish Cypriots comes under threat. France is expanding its military footprint in the eastern Mediterranean. Greek Cyprus says the agreement strengthens European security, and Türkiye argues that the deal violates international treaties and could destabilize one of the world's most sensitive regions. This is not just another diplomatic dispute. It is the latest chapter in a decades-long struggle over Cyprus. Energy resources, military influence, and regional power. More importantly, it raises a critical question. Is the Eastern Mediterranean entering a new phase of military competition? To understand why this agreement matters, we need a little context. Cyprus has remained divided since 1974. The internationally recognized Republic of Cyprus, often referred to as Greek Cyprus, controls the southern part of the island and is a member of the EU. The north is administered by the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, recognized only by Türkiye. The island's security arrangements are rooted in the 1960 agreements that established Cyprus as an independent state. Under those treaties, Turkey, Greece, and the UK became guarantor powers responsible for preserving the island's constitutional order. For decades, this framework helped maintain a fragile balance. But that balance has faced increasing pressure as new energy discoveries, maritime disputes, and military rivalries transformed the Eastern Mediterranean into a major geopolitical hotspot. Now, France has entered the picture in a much bigger way. France and Greek Cyprus recently signed a Status of Forces Agreement, commonly known as a SOFA. The agreement allows French military personnel and assets to operate from facilities in Greek Cyprus. It also expands cooperation in military technology, joint exercises, and strategic planning. French forces will gain access to Cypriot military infrastructure for operations across the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East. For Paris, this strengthens its regional presence and supports its broader vision of European strategic autonomy. The idea that Europe should develop greater military independence, rather than relying entirely on the United States. But Türkiye sees something very different. The first major revelation is that this agreement is about far more than Cyprus itself. France has steadily increased its military presence across the Mediterranean during the last decade. It has strengthened defense partnerships with Greece, deployed naval forces to the region, and positioned itself as a major security actor in disputes involving Turkey. From Ankara's perspective, the new agreement creates another military platform that could support policies contrary to Turkish interests. Turkish officials argue that France has no guarantor status under the 1960 treaties and therefore lacks the legal basis to establish this type of military arrangement on the island. Whether one agrees with Türkiye's interpretation or not, the strategic reality is clear. The agreement gives France greater operational flexibility near key maritime routes, disputed energy zones, and areas where Turkish and European interests frequently collide. And that leads directly to an even bigger issue. The second revelation is that the Eastern Mediterranean is becoming increasingly militarized. This agreement did not emerge in isolation. Greek Cyprus has spent years expanding military cooperation with countries including the United States, France, India, Egypt, Jordan, Armenia, the Czech Republic, the United Arab Emirates, and Greece. These agreements cover everything from military training and intelligence cooperation to access to naval and air facilities. At the same time, Türkiye has expanded its own military capabilities. The Turkish Navy has increased its regional presence. Turkish drones operate across multiple theaters. Türkiye maintains forces in northern Cyprus, and continues to modernize its armed forces despite various defense restrictions imposed by Western partners. The result is a growing security competition where each side views its actions as defensive, while the other side sees them as provocative. This explains why even routine military activity now generates political controversy. Turkish officials recently rejected claims from Greek media that Turkish aircraft harassed a plane carrying Greek and European officials. Ankara stated that Turkish F-16s only responded after several flights operating between Greece and Greek Cyprus violated airspace connected to northern Cyprus. Regardless of which version one accepts, the incident highlights a broader reality. The margin for miscalculation is shrinking. And that creates the most important strategic question of all. The third revelation is that this dispute reflects a much larger struggle over Europe's future security architecture. France increasingly wants Europe to act as an independent military power. President Emmanuel Macron has repeatedly argued that Europe must strengthen its strategic autonomy. Cyprus offers France a valuable location for projecting power into three critical regions simultaneously: the Eastern Mediterranean, the Middle East, and North Africa. For Türkiye, however, greater French military involvement raises concerns about exclusion from regional security arrangements. Ankara views itself as one of the region's most important military powers and refuses to accept frameworks that it believes ignore Turkish interests or the rights of Turkish Cypriots. This disagreement exposes a deeper divide within the broader Western alliance. France emphasizes European defense integration. Türkiye emphasizes regional balance and its treaty-based rights. Both sides claim they are protecting stability, yet both increasingly rely on military power to reinforce their positions. And that dynamic makes future tensions far more likely. So what does all this mean? For Cyprus, it means the island remains a focal point of international competition more than 50 years after its division. For the Eastern Mediterranean, it means military deployments, defense agreements, and strategic rivalries will continue to grow. For Europe, it demonstrates the challenges of building a coherent security strategy when major regional actors disagree on fundamental issues. For countries across the Middle East and beyond, it serves as another reminder that geopolitical competition increasingly revolves around access, infrastructure, and military positioning rather than direct territorial conquest. Most importantly, it shows that even agreements presented as defensive measures can trigger powerful reactions when they affect long-standing disputes and sensitive regional balances. The key takeaway is simple. The France-Cyprus military agreement is not just about military bases. It is about who gets to shape the future security order of the Eastern Mediterranean.